Mr. Bo Eckstein, you are the concierge to small business loans. We've talked about Codie Sanchez, boring businesses, and undoubtedly, she is creating more and more demand for small businesses. What I don't think people realize is I believe Codie Sanchez has single-handedly changed the real estate investing game for the next decade. Bo, do you have any idea what I might be referring to?
Well, if I had to take a guess, I would say that she has such a big following now that so many people that never thought about owning a business are saying, wow, there's a lot of money be made in these boring businesses, and I want to diversify my portfolio.
So without question, that is absolutely happening. But I think her impact is even greater than that. So over the last month, I have seen social media titans in the real estate investing game pivot because real estate investing is hard today. I don't know if you've heard. It's tough to make deals work. But these social media influence and gurus have such large followings and such access to capital that they are turning their backs on real estate investing and they are going to a brand new area of buying boring businesses. Codie Sanchez has single-handedly taken some of the largest real estate influencers and turned them over to buying businesses. And that will have implications on both businesses and real estate, in my opinion. What do you think of that?
Well, you're 100% correct. Because actually, over the last 2 weeks, I had two calls with big multifamily syndicators that both
Yeah.
one of them in the Bay Area um, heard me on somebody else's podcast, and he wanted to talk because he wants to buy laundromats. So, and he's done a lot of deals. And then the other guy sold most of his portfolio at the peak of the market, and now he's got some ground up projects. Like I think he said he's building 1,700 units, but he said I need some more operating capital. He said I want an operating company. So those are two what I would consider whales that are not going full time business, but they're definitely have gotten some Codie Sanchez influence because I bet you they're seeing her content. They're pivoting. So I'm seeing that across the board. So you're 100% correct.
Well, let's even go further back. I think, in fairness to Grant Cardone, he has been talking about creating businesses, right? He has the 10X Health, he has all these other things. So he's been talking about it. But I think it was really Codie Sanchez and buying boring businesses and putting together an amazing set of content that these influence. I mean, let's just be clear. Brandon Turner, Bigger Pockets fame, wrote the book on real estate investing, was just on Ryan Pineda's podcast, basically saying real estate investing is hard. I'm going to go buy some boring businesses.
Mm.
He just said that like 4 days ago. Ryan Pineda is doing this, and the list goes on and on. And I don't think real estate investing will be the same. I think all of these folks will continue to pivot over to buying boring businesses, talking about operations, creating portfolios, selling them off, and I think we can look forward to a lot less real estate investing influencers because they're going to all go out and do boring businesses.
Yeah, it is true. Like everybody gets kind of on the trend and they see it, and like, people are making money and people jump in like because they think everybody else is making money. The same thing you saw with like sub two. Nobody knew sub two, and everybody's now a sub two investor. But I do believe you have to kind of stick in your lane to a certain degree. I think you can definitely, if you have the infrastructure, you can branch out into business, right? Like I think we all understand that you can do that, but running a business is a lot different than owning a rental property.
Well, I'm glad you went there because this is the problem I see. I've been doing this. I've been speaking about investing for 15 years. I've been doing it for 30 years. And the reason I still speak at events, Bo, is because I want to know what the audience is doing. Because the audience is my indicator of risk. And people will know I got receipts. 2 years ago, I was warning about syndications because I saw the deals getting done and I saw the new operators who couldn't spell landlord becoming landlords. And now we're going to have social media influence. Let me just ask you this. You've done real estate, you've done flips, you've run small businesses. If someone maybe was a big flipper, let's say they did 50 flips a year, which is tough, right? That's one a week roughly. Does that just mean they're going to be excellent at buying and running businesses?
You know, it's hard to say. So you get somebody like that does 100 flips a year during the prime time. They obviously were pretty good at running systems, and
Sure.
so businesses are systems and processes. So I believe that, you know, like anything, some of them they'll do really well, and then some of them will fail. Just like in real estate investing, some of these big syndicators that everybody they were posting their wins and telling you how many units they have. Those same companies are shutting their doors and they're selling and they're losing a lot of LP money. So it's just like anything. Like you have to focus. You have to. I had a conversation yesterday with a guy who was looking to buy a franchise, and he was like ready to fly and do discovery day, where it's where like they award you the franchise and you know you got to make a decision. And he's like, hold on, I got to wait, let me think about this, because he wasn't clear yet on like what his responsibilities would be. Like, okay, well, what happens if I can't hire the right technician and I'm in the truck having to do the work? And if I'm doing that, who's doing the marketing? How is the marketing done? So I think the thing that we don't realize, or we're blind to, is that there are so many more pain points with businesses that we just think it's like all fun and games, when really, like, look, everything is seasonal and cyclical, and everybody now is talking about. And I do the same thing. I was a residential mortgage broker, then I got into hard money lending, and then I got into commercial lending, and then I got into SBA lending. It was a progression, and then I got into franchise. It was a progression, but I've been doing this for years, right? And so I still do residential lending for investors. I still do commercial lending. I like doing more of the business loans. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely a huge trend. Everybody's talking business acquisitions. I'm talking to investors every single day that are like, I like the guy yesterday. He owns a big portfolio of STRs. He was like, hey, I'm burnt out of doing this. I partnered with the guy. We split revenue 50-50. He runs that business. Now he's talking to me about buying franchise business because he's partnering with a guy that's good at operations.
Mm.
So yeah, I think people are diversifying, and I think when it's harder, people like look for an easier path, which I don't blame them. And I think there are huge opportunities in the business
Oh, I think
acquisition
there are as
space.
well. Absolutely. I think Codie Sanchez is winning because it's a great idea. I mean, I think it's awesome. I I am always afraid that when people chase something because it's perceived as easy and they're taking other people's money to do that, I get very concerned.
I was looking at a franchise model the other day, and I was like really, really interested. And it was like it's a franchise model that does they do short-term rental management, and I could buy the whole territory of Las Vegas and Henderson. And I was like gung ho. I mean, I was ready to go and get my property management permit, and like I'm like, this is a great business. And I said, hey, I actually emailed my dad. My dad lives here in Vegas, and I'm like, Dad, I need a partner on this. Would you be interested? And he's like, I watched all the stuff, and he's like, you know, the pain points that you're not thinking about is that there's a lot of work that you're not anticipating. Like, you know, if you want to own this business, granted, lots of it's online, you know, what happens on turnover, all this stuff that I'm like, yeah. So I wasn't thinking exactly, and he kind of like he put a crimp in my kind of process that I'm like, you're right. Like, let me think about this a little bit before I get involved. And
Mhm.
like I had this whole vision, I was going to grow this empire, and I'm like, I like this model, and it may be something that I do, but I think you always have to stop and you have to pivot and think like, okay, a year from now, what am I going to be
Right.
complaining about? Am I making a huge mistake? Just like I talked about selling Indiana to come back closer, like
Yeah.
one rental at a time preaches. Like these are things that like you hear other investors talking about, and you're like, I could do it. Yeah, I'm gonna invest out of state, and I could do it. Right? It works. I'm not saying it doesn't work, and I do fairly well, but that's not really the best business model in my mind.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think boring businesses is the right answer for a lot of folks. I think it is a way to diversify. I do get concerned that there's a lot of big name real estate influencers that are pivoting to that because they see big numbers, and that historically has not always ended well. It's never easy. It's always hard. It's always hard. And real estate's hard today. And I think pivoting because it's something perceived as easier could be a mistake,
Well,
in my opinion.
yeah, no, I agree. And when you like, look, if you look at what the influencers do on YouTube and social media, they take their influence and then they go and like, okay, like I'm going to start raising capital now. I'm going
Yep.
to start doing this. And like, I think it's actually smart. I don't disagree with that, but I think there's also the fact that like they're usually partnering with another syndicator, right? They're just
Hmm.
really kind of they're like a co-GP, general partner. But at the end of the day, you have the responsibility of making sure these projects,
Yeah.
end up being successful. And so I'm seeing it across. Basically, bottom line is every day I talk to between 5 and 10 new people and most of the people I'm talking to regarding SBA financing, they're coming from the real estate investing realm, and they're saying, "Hey, there's got to be a better way." And then they're like,
Nice.
"Oh, SBA," and "Hey, Bo, how can I do this?" And I'm like, "Okay," like, and SBA financing and BizAc and seller financing is very sexy, but I
Hmm.
think people also need to know that, you know, even though there's a general manager, it doesn't mean that person is going to be, running it, because you might have to fire them. You don't know the bad apples you're getting in with the business. You don't know all the ins and outs yet. So it's going to be exciting to see this all kind of uh,
Yeah.
come to
At
fruition.
at the end of the day, folks, I highly recommend watching Codie Sanchez. I think she is going to create more millionaires than likely most influencers, probably all influencers. I think she's just striking at the right moment. But if you need to get a small business loan, you need to reach out to the concierge. How do they do that, Bo?
Go to my name, Bo Eckstein. That's BEAUECKSTEIN.biz. I had somebody. The reason I just spelled it and didn't click on one run all the time. I had somebody that was listening to she said she was driving, and told me she was frustrated because she couldn't figure out how to spell my name, and then she stumbled onto it, and she ended up calling me, and then she said, "Hey, you should just do a simple URL." So that's what I'm going to do for this show, so people can remember. I'm going to do like, don't buy this domain, people. One rental, Bo.com or something. I'll announce it next time so people can easily remember it and they don't need
There
to
you go.
spell something.
Yeah, Bo Eckstein, BEAUECKSTEIN.
Dot
Biz.
biz. Yep.
There you
There you
go.
go.
Thank you, buddy.